Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the moment of truth. Seems that no good deed, or in this case, no misbegotten deed, goes unpunished. Kamala Harris's old alma mater, Howard University, has found itself under legal attack, though this is not something that just came out of the blue. It's been long in the offing. Like a number of HBCUs, Howard University has a large number of non-black students who are there. Though one in particular clearly didn't come to get an education, he came for the sake of trying to get some attention. The guy goes by the name of Newman, and he had basically been in trouble from almost the day that he arrived there. And how did this guy even get into Howard? He got into Howard based on a university scholarship. That meant that he wasn't even paying his way for being there. He was a charity case. They were nice enough to let this guy into their school. They decided to have this guy in their classroom, and this is how he repays them. They gave this guy a free education, and he showed them absolutely no gratitude for it. In fact, he turned around and insulted them and spat in their faces. He should have been thanking them and kissing their feet full time, but the white supremacists, they don't do gratitude. Same way they don't do truth either. And of course, when the school predictably bounced him, he decided to file a lawsuit. Now here's the background on it. This Newman person pretty much was already starting problems from the second that he set foot on campus. As the accounts of his racist troll behavior began to make the rounds on campus, some of the students found out that he had a secret Twitter account. And among the postings was one of a slave with a scarred back. You guys probably know the one. And the picture, however, had the caption, "But we don't know what he did before the picture was taken." When confronted on this, Newman tried to white-splain that, I was just mocking people who doubt the accusations black people make about police violence. That's what it was. But of course, there's absolutely nobody who can testify that this guy has ever taken the side of black people when it comes to talking about police violence against black people. So obviously that one falls flat, but that wasn't the only such incident. In the run-up to the 2020 election, at the same time that former Howard student Kamala Harris was running as vice president, the university held a symposium in which they invited a black speaker to come address the students. And because it was the pandemic, it was being done online, so this Newman character decided that he would post some messages saying that he wanted them to talk about whether black voters didn't question turning to government for solutions and reliably voting for the same party every election disincentivizes both parties from responding to the needs of the black communities. He said black communities, plural. That tells you everything you need to know about his intelligence. Now, of course, this guy doesn't care at all how much money white voters get from the government. He also doesn't care how much the white community relies on the government for basic things. Keep in mind, the reason we have a government the size that it is not because black people dreamt up the government programs or decided who should run them or how widespread they could be. That came from white power, not from black people. And this Newman person also didn't care that white people are the vast majority of government officials. That it's white people, not black people, who are the vast majority of recipients of welfare and food stamps and most government programs. That white people are the vast majority of government employees. That white people are the vast majority of recipients of government contracts. White corporations are the vast majority of those who receive subsidies. Not to mention lobbyists are almost all entirely white. And yet he says that it's black people who don't question turning to the government for solutions, when he happens to be part of the very group who not only created the government, but also are the vast majority of its employees, its administrators, and the recipients of its largesse, who are involved in every single aspect of what the government does. He also never asks if maybe white evangelicals voting for the same party every election has disincentivized Democrats from trying to respond to their needs. Now, of course, when called out on this, he decided to use the white supremacist standard deflection, just the same old weak line that they always use. Why? I was just seeking to learn, not just law, but to learn the thoughts and experiences of people of color. Now, Howard University has an Afro-American Studies course, but I'll bet this Newman troll never set foot in that particular class. If he seriously wanted to learn not just the law, but the thoughts and experiences of black people, he could have started there. So the lie that he was just asking questions, that one's dead on arrival. The classroom wasn't a place to learn for this bigot because his mind, such as it is, was nailed shut a long time ago. To him, the classroom was just a place for him to spout his anti-black racist gibberish directly in the faces of black people. That's what he went there for. He was just going to keep doing it until he inevitably got himself expelled, and that's exactly what happened. This was not a student. This was a walking internet comment section mindlessly repeating anti-black racist tropes. What on earth did this clown contribute to anything? How does his parroting empty racist talking points provoke thought? If anything, it encourages white racists like himself to continue being intellectually lazy by telling themselves the same old racist lies. It wasn't black people at Howard campus who needed to think, it was him. He didn't ask to be enlightened, he just began making accusations. The only one in this scenario who didn't want to have their viewpoints challenged was him. Now, on a side note, I will say that I'm glad to see that the students at Howard University did what the school itself should have done, and that's to check out this chump's paperwork. The school were the ones who should have found out whether or not this guy had some sort of secret online social media presence that they should know about. But instead, the school, only being concerned about talking about themselves as, I'm dean of this and I'm professor of that, and oh, I was classmates with Kamala Harris back in the day, of course too lazy to do their basic job. So it was the students who had to actually lead what was supposed to be the adults' campus. The students were the ones who found his secret Twitter account. When it became obvious that this guy was up to no good, they immediately made it a point, we need to know everything there is to know about this guy. They didn't just take his word for anything, nor should they have, as we see. We've been through this process enough times to know better by now. From the now disgraced right-wing troll James O'Keefe, who got himself kicked out of his own scam organization, Project Veritas. He ran around to Acorn facilities claiming to want help, quote-unquote, but it was all a scam. These white supremacists try to come in acting all innocent, but if you watch them for just a few seconds, they inevitably show their true colors because that's what they're there for. And if you dig even a little bit, you'll see what they're all about. It never fails. So there's absolutely nothing prejudicial about this. It's not prejudice at all. It's pattern recognition. Now, this creep's behavior was so racist and egregious that even Fox News was forced to have to admit to the stuff that he was doing, and the white supremacist trolls have been in a fury. They can't even defend this punk, so instead they resort to the old white right-wing tactic of embracing the indefensible, because that's what they do when they can't deny that they did it. So they say that, well, he was just asking questions, and, well, shouldn't they be willing to defend their viewpoint? Keep in mind, these are the exact same white right-wing racists who can't even stand children's books in school. They're the ones who demand that any little thing that offends them or displeases them in the slightest, and everything offends them, needs to be completely banned. Let's burn all the books. Hell, burn all the libraries. They're the ones who demand that critical race theory be banned because it discusses the systemic and inherent racism in American law and society. Critical race theory is a legitimate field of academic endeavor that challenges the whitewashed fiction about this country's laws and the way that it shapes society. It is legitimate academic discourse, which is why the white supremacists hate it. It asks basic, pig-simple questions such as if white people could have what they have in America if they didn't depend on the government, such as with the Homestead Act, the GI Bill, dirt-cheap housing loans and business loans given only to white soldiers coming back from World War II, and a raft of farm subsidies and everything else. The kinds of truly thought-provoking discussions that white students never get to have at home, and have never had in most schools, and certainly would never get from a mental midget like this Newman clown. And what was the response to this unquestionably academic area of study? The white right predictably went into phony hysterics. Their pinheads exploded as they demand that it be banned and that nobody discuss race in America at all. And meanwhile, they're defending this guy for talking about race in school. So we see who the people are whose viewpoints are so weak, so feeble, so fragile, that they can't even bear for anyone to even look at them. If merely asking if the Constitution is a racist document means that you hate America, then what does it mean when you demand that there be no mention of black people in schools or in the society? This is the same white right who say that people go to school to learn a particular subject. They don't go there to be racially harassed or racially indoctrinated. The classroom should bring people together. We should be discussing the academic area of study, not fixating on race. But predictably, those same people defend a racist troll who did nothing but use the classroom as a soapbox for his racial antagonism. But that's the white supremacist for you, always trying to have it both ways. In the end, as the school began to tire of tolerating this chump's racism, he sent out a series of disturbing emails to administrators and other students in which he claimed that he was going to explain his views. The people at Howard called this a manifesto, and they probably began to suspect that this creep would do exactly what other white supremacists do after they write a manifesto, and that's to go on a mass shooting. This guy certainly seems like the type. From Dylan Roof to the Columbine killers to Elliot Rodgers to Nicholas Cruz, it seems most of these mass shooters predictably have a racist online presence. They all seem to be white supremacists of some stripe or another. Practically no mass shooter's manifesto is complete without talking about how much they hate black people. Now, the people at Howard most likely stopped this racist provocateur from carrying out some sort of violent attack. Hate speech inevitably leads to hate crimes. This is what the Fox News and other propaganda mills don't talk about, because this Newman character's racism reflects their own. After this windbag got himself bounced from Howard, he decided to file a lawsuit because there's nothing losers want more than attention. This was the end game for him from the very beginning. He knew it was going to end like this, so please don't think that there was never going to be a lawsuit. This guy's just trying to get some attention. He wants some quickie attention, and if it sounds familiar, it should. It's just like Ron DeSantis. It's just like Christopher Rufo, performative extremism, just anything to try to make that 15 minutes last a little bit longer. And of course, you got the online chorus of creeps who are saying that this guy did nothing wrong, and that's because they can't deny that this guy was a racist. They can't deny that the only reason that this guy even enrolled at Howard was so that he could be racially hostile and disruptive. The dean of Howard Law School had a Zoom meeting with Newman and the school's head of diversity recruiting. She advised Newman that maybe he ought to go to another school, and she also called him out for racially harassing the students at Howard. The law dean had read Newman's manifesto, and she called it disturbing in every sense of the word. So she clearly felt that this raving bigot, who only came there to be confrontational and disruptive, might just decide to try something more hostile than just racist words. Again, we've seen this enough times to know, when these guys keep doing this mess over and over again, they're building to something. And just to show that these white supremacist trolls don't know the law, because that would require literacy, they instead whined about, well, was it legal for the law dean to record the conversation? These are black people who teach and study law, so I'm pretty sure they're also aware of whether their jurisdiction is single-party consent or not. But this is what these white supremacists are reduced to. They're desperate for a win. But these days, they'll be happy with just trolling if that's all they can get. So for this lawsuit, clearly this is just a parasite looking for a payoff. He's done it just so he can get some attention because that's all he can hope for now. But white power has no principles other than situational ethics and moral relativism. White power doesn't care about gratitude. So after the white supremacists get a few cheap laughs from the violent antics of a George Zimmerman or a Kyle Rittenhouse or whomever it is, they just move on. That's why these punks always wind up back in the media broke and fighting with their former pals as they try to milk their 15 minutes of infamy for a few more pennies. But no matter what this Newman character may hope for, he's not going to become a cause celeb for the bad guys, because that's not how white supremacy works. White power gives trolls like this one some attention, but it has no intention of putting them up for life. They're only valuable to white power until the moment that the public moves on and the headlines inevitably change to something else. And the white supremacist tool who thought that they were so important get left deserted. This will be the same case. Nuisance suits like this get some headlines, but they don't get judgments in your favor. But I'm sure we'll see this chump on Tucker Carlson's toilet bowl broadcast before it's all over, and they'll try to claim his racist Twitter profile was all just harmless jokes, and that he was merely asking questions that people were overly sensitive about. This from the single most sensitive portion of American society, mind you. Clowns like this Newman person want to be heroes to the racists on the right. For them, it's not about winning the fight because the L's have piled up, and while they don't like taking L's, we've made them have to get used to the idea of holding them for the first time ever. As they see it, if they can give us the middle finger, they'll settle for that. Well, considering this racist punk's behavior and how weak his lawsuit is, I think that's the only settlement he's going to be getting. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Justin Marcus, Reasonable Dude, Stay Positive, Burkett Cochrane, and Dondi Waddell. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.